In the last episode, Alex Carter had just begun to make a name for himself as a leader in the post-disaster world, reaching out to forgotten groups and alien species to secure vital resources for humanity's rebuilding efforts. But as his endeavors gained momentum, new challenges and old enemies emerged, threatening the fragile peace he was working to establish. The air was thick with the smell of smoke and ash as Alex stepped out of the makeshift shelter, gazing out at the ruins of the once thriving city. The sky was a deep, foreboding gray, with clouds that seemed to swirl and twist in every direction. A faint hum filled the air, the sound of alien technology that had become a familiar presence in this new world. Alex took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the task ahead. He had to keep pushing forward, no matter what dangers or uncertainties lay in wait. As he walked, the rough terrain beneath his feet, Alex's thoughts turned to the meeting he was about to attend. Representatives from various alien species would be gathering to discuss the implications of humanity's growing presence in the galaxy. It was a delicate balancing act, one that required finesse and a deep understanding of the complex web of alliances and rivalries that existed among the different species. The shelter's entrance beckoned, and Alex stepped inside, his eyes adjusting to the dim light within. The room was filled with a diverse assortment of beings, each with their own unique characteristics and agendas. Greetings were exchanged, and Alex took his seat at the negotiating table, his mind focused on the challenges ahead. "So, what's the current state of our negotiations with the Zeridian trade delegation?" asked one of the alien representatives, a tall, slender being with skin that shifted between shades of blue. "We're making progress," Alex replied, his thoughts clear and concise. "They've agreed to provide us with the necessary technology to purify our water supplies, but they're still hesitant to commit to a long-term trade agreement." "That is disappointing," the alien said, tone neutral. "We had hoped for more substantial cooperation." Alex nodded, understanding the concern. "We are working to address their concerns about our ability to meet their security requirements." As the meeting progressed, the discussions grew more intense, with various factions pushing their own agendas. Alex navigated the complex dynamics, using his knowledge of human and alien politics to find common ground. But just as it seemed that a breakthrough was within reach, a sudden, jarring alarm pierced the air, and the shelter's defenses activated, casting a protective shield around the gathering. "What's happening?" one of the representatives shouted, alarm evident in their voice. Alex's eyes snapped to the viewscreen, displaying a group of unidentified ships closing in on their location. "It looks like we have unwanted visitors," Alex said, his voice steady. "Let's prepare for the worst." The room erupted into a flurry of activity, with each representative scrambling to respond to the developing crisis. Alex stood, his eyes locked on the viewscreen, his mind racing with possibilities. Who are they and what do they want, he wondered, his grip on the arms of his chair tightening. The answer, much like the ships themselves, remained shrouded in uncertainty, leaving Alex and his allies to face the unknown threat head-on. As the situation continued to unfold, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a random attack. There were forces at play that he didn't yet understand, and it was up to him to uncover the truth. With the shelter's defenses holding strong, Alex steeled himself for the challenges ahead, his determination to protect humanity and its newfound allies burning brighter than ever. The fate of their meeting, and perhaps the future of their fragile peace, hung in the balance, as Alex prepared to face whatever dangers were coming their way. The air was electric with tension as Alex analyzed the unfolding situation, his strategic mind racing to understand the motives behind the sudden attack. He knew that every decision he made in the next few minutes would have far-reaching consequences. "We need to establish communication with the unknown ships," Alex said, his voice clear and authoritative. "See if we can determine their intentions." One of the alien representatives, a being with a mass of writhing tendrils, nodded and began working on the communication systems. The shelter's advanced technology sprang to life, and a holographic display flickered into view, casting a blue glow over the room. The unidentified ships, now clearly visible on the view screen, were configured in a peculiar formation, their vessels unlike anything Alex had seen before. The design seemed to blend organic and synthetic elements, giving them an otherworldly appearance. A cold, synthesized voice echoed through the shelter, sending a shiver down Alex's spine. "This is Commander Zorvath of the Kyrene Collective. We have come for the human Alex Carter." Alex's eyes narrowed, his mind racing to understand the significance of the Kyrene Collective. He had never heard of them before, but the tone of Commander Zorvath's voice left no doubt that they were a force to be reckoned with. "What do you want with me?" Alex asked, his voice firm and unwavering. "You have something that belongs to us," Commander Zorvath replied, the coldness in his voice increasing. "A relic of great power, stolen from our people. We will take it back, no matter the cost." Alex's grip on the arms of his chair tightened, his mind racing to understand the true nature of the relic in question. He had no idea what the Kyrene Collective was referring to, but he knew that he couldn't give in to their demands without a fight. "I don't know what you're talking about," Alex lied, trying to stall for time. "Do not play games with us, human," Commander Zorvath warned. "We have the power to destroy your entire colony. Hand over the relic and we might spare your lives." The weight of the situation hung heavy in the air, as Alex knew that giving in to the Kyrene Collective's demands would be a death sentence for humanity. He had to find a way to stall, to negotiate, or to outmaneuver this new enemy. The fate of humanity and the future of the galaxy hung in the balance as Alex prepared to face the Kyrene Collective head-on. "I need time," Alex thought, his mind racing to come up with a plan. He couldn't give in to the Kyrene Collective's demands, not without knowing what this relic was or why it was so important to them. "I'm not sure what you're talking about, Commander," Alex repeated, trying to sound convincing. "But I am willing to listen. Perhaps we can come to some sort of arrangement." There was a moment of silence, and for a heartbeat, Alex wondered if the commander had bought his bluff. But then the cold, synthesized voice spoke again. "We are not in the habit of making deals with thieves," Commander Zorvath replied. "You have 1 hour to hand over the relic. If we do not receive it within that time frame, we will destroy your colony." Alex's eyes locked onto the view screen, his gaze burning with determination. He knew that he couldn't give in to the Kyrene Collective's demands, not without a fight. But he also knew that he couldn't take on their ships in a straight-up battle, not yet. "I need to stall," Alex thought, his mind racing to come up with a plan. He needed to buy time, to gather his allies and come up with a strategy to take down the Kyrene Collective. "I'll need to consult with my people," Alex said, trying to sound hesitant. "Can I have a guarantee of safe passage for a delegation to meet with you and discuss the terms?" There was another moment of silence, and Alex's heart sank. He knew that he was taking a risk, but he had to try. And then, to his surprise, Commander Zorvath agreed. "Very well, human. I will allow a delegation to meet with me. But be warned, any tricks or deception will be met with swift and deadly force." Alex's grip on the arms of his chair relaxed just slightly. He had bought himself some time, but he knew that he couldn't waste it. He turned to the alien representative, the being with the mass of writhing tendrils. "Get me a team together," Alex said, his voice low and urgent. "I need to know what this relic is and why the Kyrene Collective wants it so badly." The alien nodded, its tendrils writhing in a complex pattern. "I will gather the necessary experts," it said. "But we must hurry, Alex. Time is running out." Alex nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. He knew that he had to move fast, to gather his allies and come up with a plan to take down the Kyrene Collective. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and Alex was determined to save it. With a sense of purpose, Alex stood up, his eyes locked onto the view screen. He knew that the next few hours would be crucial, and he was ready to do whatever it took to protect his people. "Let's get to work," Alex said, his voice firm and resolute. We have a relic to find and a battle to win." The air was electric with tension as Alex's team set to work, racing against the clock to uncover the secrets of the mysterious relic. Alex's strategic mind was already racing ahead, planning and plotting, determined to outmaneuver the Kyrene Collective and save humanity from destruction. But as the clock ticked down, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something. The Kyrene Collective's demands seemed too sudden, too extreme. There had to be more to this than just a simple relic. And then, like a bolt of lightning, it hit him. The Kyrene Collective wasn't just after a relic, they were after Alex himself. The pieces fell into place, and Alex's eyes narrowed as he realized the true extent of the conspiracy. It wasn't just about the relic, he thought. It was about him. And with that knowledge, Alex's entire strategy changed. He knew that he had to take a risk, to gamble everything on a bold plan to take down the Kyrene Collective and secure humanity's future. With a sense of determination, Alex turned to his team. "We need to change our plan," Alex said, his voice low and urgent. "We're not just going to negotiate, we're going to take the fight to them." The room fell silent as Alex's team stared at him in shock. But Alex didn't waver. He knew that it was time to take a stand, to fight for humanity's future. And with that, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, as Alex prepared to launch a daring counterattack against the Kyrene Collective. Alex's team exchanged nervous glances, but he could see the spark of determination igniting in their eyes. They knew the stakes were high, but they also knew that Alex had a plan. "What's the new plan, Alex?" one of them asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "We're going to take a delegation to the Kyrene Collective's ship," Alex said, his eyes flashing with intensity. "But we're not going to negotiate. We're going to infiltrate their ship, gather intel, and find a way to take them down from the inside." The room fell silent again, this time with a sense of trepidation. Alex knew it was a risky plan, but he was convinced it was the only way to save humanity. "I need a team of experts," Alex continued, his voice firm. "Hackers, engineers, and soldiers. We need to be prepared for anything." The alien representative nodded, its tendrils writhing in a complex pattern. "I will gather the necessary experts," it said. "But we must hurry, Alex. Time is running out." Alex nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. He knew that the next few hours would be crucial, and he was ready to do whatever it took to protect his people. As the team set to work, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into a trap, but he pushed the thought aside, focusing on the task at hand. The delegation assembled in the docking bay, a mix of humans and aliens with skills ranging from hacking to hand-to-hand combat. Alex stood at the forefront, his eyes locked onto the viewscreen as they approached the Kyrene Collective's ship. "This is it," Alex said, his voice low and steady. "Let's get to work." The ship shuddered as they docked, and Alex felt a sense of tension building in his chest. He knew that they were about to embark on a dangerous mission, one that could change the course of humanity's future. As they stepped onto the Kyrene Collective's ship, Alex's senses were on high alert. He knew that they were walking into a trap, but he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The commander awaited them, its cold, synthesized voice dripping with disdain. "So human, you think you can negotiate with us?" It sneered. Alex smiled, a cold, calculated smile. "I'm not here to negotiate," he said, his voice dripping with defiance. "I am here to take what's rightfully ours." The commander's eyes narrowed, and for a moment Alex thought he saw a glimmer of surprise. But then the Kyrene Collective's ship erupted into chaos, alarms blaring and lights flashing as the delegation launched their attack. Alex's team fought bravely, taking down the Kyrene Collective's soldiers with precision and skill. But Alex knew that they couldn't hold out for long. They needed to find a way to take down the ship's defenses, and fast. As he fought his way through the corridors, Alex spotted a console flashing with data. He knew that it was their chance to turn the tide of the battle. "I need hacking expertise now," Alex shouted, grabbing the attention of one of his team members. The hacker nodded, dashing towards the console with a look of determination. Alex watched, his heart pounding in his chest, as the hacker's fingers flew across the console. Suddenly, the ship's defenses dropped and Alex's team surged forward, taking control of the ship. The Kyrene Collective's commander stared at Alex, its eyes blazing with fury. "You may have won this battle," it spat, "but the war is far from over." Alex smiled, a cold, calculated smile. "I am counting on it," he said, his voice dripping with determination. As the battle raged on, Alex knew that he had to make a choice. He could continue to fight, taking down the Kyrene Collective's forces one by one, or he could take a risk and gamble everything on a bold plan to take down the entire Kyrene Collective. Alex's eyes narrowed, his mind racing with possibilities. He knew that the fate of humanity hung in the balance, and he was ready to do whatever it took to secure their future. The battle raged on, but Alex knew that the real war was only just beginning. Alex's thoughts raced with the implications of the commander's threat. He knew that the Kyrene Collective would not go down without a fight, and that their next move would be crucial in determining the outcome of the war. As his team secured the ship, Alex called for a hasty gathering in the command center. The room was filled with a mix of humans and aliens, all sharing a common goal: to take down the Kyrene Collective. "We need to take out their central command," Alex said, his voice firm. "If we can disable their leadership, we stand a chance of winning this war." The room fell silent with nods and murmurs of agreement. Alex knew that it wouldn't be an easy task, but he was determined to see it through. "I need volunteers for the mission," Alex continued. "We'll need a small team, experts in infiltration and sabotage. We'll sneak onto their central ship, take out their leadership, and disable their command center." The room erupted into a flurry of activity, with volunteers stepping forward and strategies being discussed. Alex listened intently, his mind racing with possibilities. As the planning continued, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The Kyrene Collective would not take long to regroup and launch a counterattack. They needed to move quickly before their window of opportunity closed. With a final nod, Alex gave the order to set the plan in motion. The team dispersed, each member knowing their role in the daring mission. Alex stood alone in the command center, his eyes fixed on the viewscreen as it displayed the Kyrene Collective's central ship. He knew that the next few hours would be crucial, and that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. As he turned to leave, Alex's comms device beeped, interrupting the silence. He hesitated, wondering who it could be. "Alex, it's Maya," the voice on the other end said, her tone urgent. "I've received a message from an unknown source. It's a warning, Alex. The Kyrene Collective has a traitor in our midst." Alex's eyes narrowed, his mind racing with the implications. "A traitor? Who could it be?" "What's the message?" Alex asked, his voice low and even. "Beware the ones you trust the most," Maya replied, her voice laced with concern. "Alex, I don't know what it means, but we need to be careful." Alex's grip on his comms device tightened, his heart pounding in his chest. A traitor. It was a possibility he hadn't considered. But who could it be? One of his closest allies, a rival leader. The questions swirled in his mind as he stood there, frozen in uncertainty. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and Alex knew that he had to make a choice: trust his instincts or investigate further. The decision was clear. Alex would not let uncertainty hold him back. He would investigate, and he would find the traitor. Alex's eyes never left the viewscreen as he processed the warning. The central ship of the Kyrene Collective loomed before him, its massive structure a testament to the Empire's power. But it was the threat from within that truly worried him. With a deep breath, Alex pushed aside his doubts and began to formulate a plan. He needed to move quickly, but cautiously. The traitor could be anyone, and he couldn't afford to tip his hand. "Maya, I need you to run a discreet scan on all crew members," Alex said, his voice low and calculated. "I want to know every detail about their past, their allegiances, and their motivations. Leave no stone unturned." "Acknowledged, Alex," Maya replied, her tone professional. "I'll get started immediately." Alex nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. He knew that trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. Not now, not when the stakes were this high. As he turned to leave, Alex's gaze fell upon the faces of his team, busy preparing for the mission. He saw the determination in their eyes, the fire that burned within them. He knew that they were the only ones he could truly trust. But even that trust was fragile. The warning had shaken him, made him question everything he thought he knew. Alex's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps behind him. He turned to see Lyra, her normally stoic face etched with concern. "Alex, I need to speak with you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex hesitated, unsure of what to expect. But Lyra's tone told him that this was important. "What is it, Lyra?" Alex asked, his voice low and cautious. "I've been monitoring the comms channels," Lyra replied, her eyes darting around the room. "I think I've found something. A hidden frequency, encrypted and heavily guarded. I believe it's the Kyrene Collective's secure channel." Alex's eyes narrowed, his heart pounding in his chest. This could be the break they needed. "Can you crack the encryption?" Alex asked, his voice urgent. Lyra nodded, her eyes flashing with determination. "I'll try, Alex, but I'll need time and resources. Can I count on your support?" Alex didn't hesitate. He knew that Lyra was the only one who could help him uncover the traitor. "You have my full support, Lyra," Alex said, his voice firm. "Do whatever it takes to crack that encryption. We need to know what the Kyrene Collective is planning." As Lyra nodded and turned to leave, Alex felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could still turn the tide of this war. But the warning lingered, a nagging voice in the back of his mind. Trust no one, not even Lyra. Alex's grip on his comms device tightened, his heart heavy with uncertainty. He knew that the road ahead would be treacherous, filled with lies and deceit. But he was determined to see it through, no matter the cost. With a deep breath, Alex turned to face the viewscreen once more, his eyes fixed on the Kyrene Collective's central ship. The battle for humanity's future had just gotten a whole lot more complicated. As Lyra worked to crack the encryption, Alex continued to monitor the situation, his mind racing with possibilities. He knew that time was running out, and they needed to act fast if they were going to uncover the traitor and prevent a catastrophic disaster. "Alex, I've found something," Lyra called out, her voice laced with urgency. Alex turned to face her, his heart pounding in his chest. "What is it?" "I've managed to decode a small portion of the encrypted message," Lyra replied, her eyes fixed on the data streaming across her console. "It's a warning, Alex. The Kyrene Collective is planning to launch a surprise attack on our main stronghold." Alex's eyes widened, his mind reeling with the implications. This was it, the moment he had been dreading. The traitor had finally made their move. "When?" Alex demanded, his voice cold and calculating. "Less than an hour," Lyra replied, her face pale. "We need to act fast, Alex. We can't let them catch us off guard." Alex nodded, his mind racing with strategy. He knew that they had to move quickly, but they also had to be smart. One wrong move could mean disaster. "Maya, can you hack into the stronghold's defenses?" Alex asked, his voice urgent. "I am trying, Alex," Maya replied, her fingers flying across her console. "But their security is top-notch. I'm not sure I can get through in time." Alex's grip on his comms device tightened, his heart heavy with uncertainty. They were running out of options, and time was running out. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared to life, and the viewscreen flickered with an incoming transmission. Alex's eyes narrowed as he recognized the symbol of the Kyrene Collective flashing on the screen. "This is it," Alex muttered, his voice low and deadly. "They're making their move." The transmission flickered and a cold, calculating voice spoke, sending shivers down Alex's spine. "Alex Carter, you are a foolish human. You think you can stand against the might of the Kyrene Collective. We will crush you and your pathetic rebellion. Prepare to meet your maker." Alex's eyes locked onto the viewscreen, his heart pounding in his chest. This was it, the final showdown. He knew that he had to act fast or risk losing everything they had fought for. "Lyra, can you locate the source of the transmission?" Alex asked, his voice cold and calculating. I'm trying, Alex, Lyra replied, her eyes fixed on her console, but it's heavily encrypted. Wait, I think I have it. The transmission is coming from the stronghold itself. Alex's eyes widened, his mind reeling with shock. The traitor was inside the stronghold and they were working with the Kyrene Collective. This was a betrayal of the highest order. We've been played, Alex muttered, his voice low and deadly. It's time to take out the trash. With a fierce determination, Alex turned to his team, his eyes burning with a fire that would not be extinguished. Let's move out, Alex said, his voice cold and calculating. It's time to take back what's ours. Alex's team sprang into action, their movements swift and deadly. Maya worked her magic, hacking into the stronghold systems to disable their defenses. Lyra provided cover, her guns blazing as they made their way through the corridors. Alex led the charge, his heart pounding in his chest as they fought their way deeper into the stronghold. The battle raged on, the sound of blaster fire and screams echoing through the corridors. Alex's team fought valiantly, taking down Kyrene soldiers and traitors alike, but despite their bravery, they were vastly outnumbered. Alex knew that they had to end this fight quickly or risk being overwhelmed. As they pushed forward, Alex caught glimpses of the stronghold's commander, Admiral Vex. The traitor's eyes were cold and calculating, his smile twisted with malice. Alex's anger burned hotter with every step, his determination to take down the traitor growing with every passing moment. Suddenly, Lyra's console beeped and she called out, Alex, I've found the source of the transmission. It's coming from the command center. Alex's eyes locked onto the command center, his heart racing with anticipation. This was it, the final showdown. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the fight ahead. Let's move out, Alex said, his voice cold and deadly. It's time to take back our stronghold. With a fierce determination, Alex led the charge, his team following close behind. They burst into the command center, guns blazing, and Alex confronted Admiral Vex. The traitor sneered, his eyes cold and calculating as Alex faced him down. You're a fool, Alex Carter, Vex spat. You think you can take down the Kyrene Collective? We will crush you and your rebellion. Alex's eyes burned with anger, his hand tightening around his blaster. You've made a grave mistake, Admiral, Alex said, his voice low and deadly. You've betrayed humanity and now you'll pay the price. With a swift motion, Alex raised his blaster and fired, taking down Vex with a single shot. The room fell silent, the only sound the hum of the stronghold systems. Alex's team stood victorious, their chests heaving with exhaustion. But as they caught their breath, a new threat emerged. The Kyrene Collective, enraged by the death of their puppet, launched a full-scale assault on the stronghold. Alex's team fought bravely, but they were no match for the Collective's superior numbers. As the battle raged on, Alex knew that they had to act fast. He called upon his allies, the Zorvath and the Zeridia, to come to their aid. But as he waited for their response, he knew that time was running out. The stronghold's defenses were weakening, and the Kyrene Collective was closing in. Alex's heart raced with desperation as he realized that they might not make it out alive. In a last-ditch effort, Alex turned to Maya, his voice urgent. Maya, can you hack into the Collective systems? We need to take out their command ship if we're going to have any chance of survival. Maya's eyes locked onto her console, her fingers flying across the keyboard. I am trying, Alex, she said, her voice tense with concentration. The room fell silent, the only sound the hum of the stronghold systems. Alex's team stood frozen, their eyes fixed on Maya's console. Suddenly, the console beeped and Maya's eyes locked onto Alex. I've got it, Alex, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I've hacked into their systems. I can take out their command ship. Alex's eyes locked onto Maya, his heart pounding in his chest. This was it, their last chance. He nodded, his voice firm. Do it, Maya, take out their command ship. Now, Maya's fingers flew across the keyboard, her eyes locked onto the console as she worked her magic. The room held its breath, the only sound the hum of the stronghold systems. Alex's team stood frozen, their eyes fixed on Maya's console. Suddenly, the console beeped, and Maya's eyes lit up with a fierce determination. "It's done, Alex," she said, her voice firm. "Their command ship is going down." The room erupted into cheers as Maya's words echoed through the command center. Alex's team exchanged triumphant glances, their faces flushed with exhaustion and relief. But their celebration was short-lived. The stronghold systems beeped, and Lyra's console flashed with an urgent warning. "Alex, we've got incoming," Lyra called out, her voice tense with alarm. Alex's heart sank as he turned to Lyra, his eyes scanning the console. "How many?" he asked, his voice firm. "Too many," Lyra replied, her eyes locked onto the console. "The Kyrene Collective is sending everything they've got. We're looking at a full-scale assault." Alex's face set in determination as he turned to his team. "All right, let's move out," he said, his voice cold and deadly. "We've got to hold them off until our allies arrive." The team sprang into action, their movements swift and deadly. Maya worked her magic, hacking into the stronghold systems to bolster their defenses. Lyra provided cover, her guns blazing as they fought off the incoming forces. Alex led the charge, his heart pounding in his chest as they fought for their lives. But as the battle raged on, Alex knew that they were fighting a losing battle. The Kyrene Collective was too strong, their numbers too great. Alex's team fought bravely, but they were no match for the Collective's superior firepower. Just as all hope seemed lost, a familiar voice echoed through the stronghold systems. "Alex, this is Kale of the Zeridia. We're on our way. Hold on, we're almost there." Alex's heart leapt with hope as he turned to his team. "Hang on, we've got help incoming," he said, his voice firm. The team fought on, their determination fueled by the promise of rescue. And then in the distance they saw it, a fleet of Zeridian ships, their guns blazing as they tore into the Kyrene Collective's forces. The tide of the battle turned, and Alex's team fought with renewed hope. They pushed forward, their guns blazing as they took down the Collective's forces. As the battle raged on, Alex caught glimpses of Kale, his eyes locked onto the Zeridian leader. Kale's face was set in determination, his eyes burning with a fierce intensity. Suddenly, the Kyrene Collective's forces began to falter. Their ships were destroyed, their troops fleeing in disarray. Alex's team fought on, their determination fueled by their desire for victory. And then it was over. The battle was won, the Kyrene Collective defeated. Alex's team stood victorious, their chests heaving with exhaustion. As they caught their breath, Alex turned to Kale, his eyes locked onto the Zeridian leader. "Thanks for coming to our aid," Alex said, his voice firm. Kale's face cracked into a smile, his eyes warm with gratitude. "We're honored to fight alongside you, Alex," he said, his voice sincere. Alex nodded, his heart filled with pride. He had done it, he had saved humanity from the brink of destruction. The cost had been high, but the reward was worth it. As the dust settled, Alex knew that a new chapter was beginning. The Kyrene Collective was defeated, but there were still threats lurking in the shadows. Alex vowed to be vigilant, to guide humanity forward and protect them from harm. The fate of humanity was in his hands, and Alex was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He stood tall, his eyes locked onto the horizon, his heart filled with determination and courage. A new era had begun, and Alex Carter was ready to lead humanity into a brighter future. Alex's gaze swept across the stronghold, his eyes lingering on the exhausted faces of his team. The battle was won, but the cost had been high. Maya's console still beeped with damage reports, and Lyra's console flashed with warnings of potential threats. As he turned to Kale, Alex's mind began to spin with the implications of their victory. The Kyrene Collective was defeated, but their defeat would send ripples throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Council would not take this lying down. "Kale, we need to regroup and reassess," Alex said, his voice firm. "The Council will not let this stand. We need to prepare for their retaliation." Kale nodded, his eyes narrowing in agreement. "I'll work with my people to gather intelligence on the Council's moves. Well, be ready for them." Alex nodded, his mind racing with strategies and contingency plans. He knew that the council would stop at nothing to maintain their power. He needed to stay one step ahead of them. As he turned to his team, Alex's eyes locked onto Lyra's console. "Lyra, can you hack into the council's systems? I need to know what they're planning." Lyra's fingers flew across her console, her eyes locked onto the screen. "I am in, Alex, but what I'm seeing isn't good." Alex's heart sank as Lyra's words echoed through the command center. "What is it?" he asked, his voice firm. "The council is mobilizing their fleets," Lyra replied, her voice tense. "They're preparing for all-out war." Alex's face set in determination as he turned to his team. "All right, let's get to work. We've got to be ready for them." "Maya, can you—" But before Maya could respond, the stronghold's alarms blared to life. The room shook with the impact of incoming fire. "What's going on?" Alex demanded, his eyes scanning the consoles. "It's the council," Lyra replied, her voice urgent. "They're attacking us with everything they've got." Alex's heart raced as he turned to Kale. "We need to hold them off. Can you get your ships in position?" Kale nodded, his eyes flashing with determination. "I'll get them online. But Alex, we can't hold out for long. We need a plan." Alex's mind raced with possibilities, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that he had to think fast to come up with a plan that would save humanity from the brink of destruction. And then it hit him, a bold, desperate plan that would either save humanity or condemn them to extinction. "Here's what we're going to do," Alex said, his voice firm. "We're going to launch a counterattack. We'll take the fight to the council's doorstep." The room fell silent, Alex's team staring at him in shock. But Alex knew that it was their only chance. "Let's move out," he said, his voice cold and deadly. "We've got a war to win." Alex's words hung in the air, a spark that ignited a fire within his team. Maya's eyes flashed with determination as she began to work her console, calling up the stronghold's defenses. Lyra's fingers flew across her screen, hacking into the council's systems to gather intel on their enemies' movements. Kale nodded, his face set in a fierce grin as he called up his ships, preparing to launch a counterattack. As the room erupted into a flurry of activity, Alex turned to the viewport, his eyes locked onto the battle-scarred landscape outside. The council's fleets hung like a dark cloud on the horizon, their ships blazing with cannon fire. But Alex knew that this was far from over. He had a plan, a desperate gamble that would either save humanity or condemn them to extinction. "Maya, can you give me a status report on our defenses?" Alex called out, his voice crisp and clear. "We're holding, but barely," Maya replied, her voice tight with tension. "The council's got too much firepower. We can't keep this up for much longer." Alex nodded, his mind racing with calculations and possibilities. He knew that they had to act fast to take the fight to the council before they were overwhelmed. "Lyra, can you pinpoint the council's flagship?" Alex asked, his eyes locked onto the console. "I've got it," Lyra replied, her voice firm. "It's the Celestial Horizon, one of their most advanced vessels." Alex's face set in a determined grin. "That's our target. Kale, can you get your ships in position to take out the Horizon's shields?" Kale nodded, his eyes flashing with excitement. "I can do it, Alex, but we'll need to be precise. The council's got top-notch defenses." Alex nodded, his mind already racing ahead. "I've got a plan for that." "Lyra, can you hack into the Horizon systems and disable their shields?" Lyra's fingers flew across her console, her eyes locked onto the screen. "I am in, Alex, but this is going to take some time." Alex's heart pounded in his chest as he turned to Maya. "Maya, can you give me a countdown until the council's next salvo?" "We've got 2 minutes, Alex," Maya replied, her voice tight with tension. Alex nodded, his eyes locked onto the viewport. The council's ships hung like a sword of Damocles, ready to strike at any moment. But Alex knew that this was their chance, their one and only opportunity to turn the tide of the battle. "All right, here's the plan," Alex said, his voice firm. "Kale, y'all take out the Horizon shields. Lyra, y'all disable their defenses. Maya, y'all provide cover fire from the stronghold. And I'll take a team to board the Horizon and take out their command center." The room fell silent, Alex's team staring at him in shock, but Alex knew that this was their only chance. "Let's move out," he said, his voice cold and deadly. "We've got a war to win." The countdown began, the seconds ticking away like grains of sand in an hourglass. Alex's heart pounded in his chest as he turned to his team, his eyes locked onto theirs. This was it, the final stand. Would they emerge victorious, or would they fall to the Council's superior might? Only time would tell. The silence was palpable as Alex's words hung in the air. His team knew the stakes, knew the risks, but they also knew Alex's determination. Maya nodded, Lyra's fingers flew across her console, and Kale's eyes flashed with excitement. The room erupted into a flurry of activity, each member of the team moving with precision and purpose. As the countdown continued, Alex's mind raced with calculations and possibilities. He knew every detail, every angle, every weakness. The Celestial Horizon, the Council's flagship, was a behemoth of a vessel, but Alex had a plan to take it down. "Maya, can you give me a status report on the stronghold's defenses?" Alex called out, his voice crisp and clear. Holding but barely, Maya replied, her voice tight with tension. "We need to move, Alex. Time's running out." Alex nodded, his eyes locked onto the viewport. The Council's ships hung like a dark cloud, their cannons blazing with fire. But Alex's team was ready. They had to be. "Lyra, can you hack into the Horizon systems yet?" Alex asked, his voice firm. "Almost, Alex," Lyra replied, her fingers flying across her console. "I need another minute, tops." Alex's heart pounded in his chest as he turned to Kale. "Kale, can you get your ships in position to take out the Horizon's shields?" "Done," Kale replied, his eyes flashing with excitement. "My ships are waiting for the signal, Alex." Alex nodded, his mind racing ahead. The plan was coming together piece by piece. The countdown was ticking away, but Alex's team was ready. "All right, here's the signal," Alex said, his voice cold and deadly. "Kale, take out the shields. Lyra, disable their defenses. Maya, provide cover fire. And I'll take a team to board the Horizon and take out their command center." The room fell silent once more, the only sound the steady hum of consoles and the ticking of the countdown. Alex's eyes locked onto his team, his heart pounding in his chest. This was it, the final stand. With a nod, Kale's ships launched a barrage of firepower, taking out the Horizon's shields. Lyra's fingers flew across her console, disabling the Council's defenses. Maya's hands moved swiftly, providing cover fire from the stronghold. And Alex, with a deep breath, led his team to board the Celestial Horizon. The battle raged on, the sounds of cannons and laser fire echoing through the void. Alex's team moved with precision, taking out Council forces left and right. They fought their way through the ship, clearing a path to the command center. As they burst into the center, Alex's eyes locked onto the Council's leader, Admiral Zhang. The man's eyes flashed with anger, but Alex just smiled. "It's over," Alex said, his voice firm. "Humans are taking back their rightful place in the galaxy." Admiral Zhang sneered, but Alex just nodded. With a swift motion, he took out the Admiral, ending the Council's tyranny. The room fell silent, the only sound the steady hum of consoles. Alex's team stood victorious, their chests heaving with exhaustion. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. As Alex looked out at the viewport, he knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had risen, but there were still battles to be fought, alliances to be forged, and a new order to be established. The journey was far from over, but Alex was ready. He stood tall, his eyes locked onto the horizon, his heart pounding with excitement. A new chapter had begun, filled with endless possibilities and adventures. Alex's determination had created a lasting impact, and he remained vigilant, guiding humanity forward into a brighter future. The final scene faded to black, the sound of Alex's heartbeat echoing through the silence. The legendary leader stood alone, his eyes locked onto the stars, his spirit unbroken. The universe was full of possibilities, and Alex was ready to face them head-on.